What is expression? I think being human is a constant battle between being seen and being understood. And art is how we decorate space, and expression is how we decorate experience. So humanity is complex in so many ways. And to give a good example, when you go to an event and we all order drinks, or drinks are passed around, we will never take the same flavors. Very few of us will take the same flavors. Each and every person has a different preference of what they'd like to drink. That in itself shows you how complex human beings are. We are very different and complex in so many ways. I'd like to think of Superman as a metaphor for expression. Growing up, I've always enjoyed movies, animated series, TV shows, anything that has to do with superheroes. I was always a big fan, and most especially Superman. And the more I grew up, the more I began to realize that Superman, as much as he has all this power, he's still burdened by responsibility. On this side, Superman is a superhero. He's burdened by the responsibility of having to save lives and, swoop in each and every time there is trouble. On the other hand, he's trying to be Clark Kent, who is a man, a husband, and even a father at some point. So trying to balance between having so much responsibility and just finding your identity as a person in a normal day-to-day life. I think he is the most human character ever. As much as Superman himself is an alien and he's trying to fit in for the better part of of all the movies that I've watched, it still shows how these two things are able to exist at the same time. And aren't we all like Superman? We are all unique, and that is our power. And with that power comes the great responsibility of trying to stand out, trying to be different. And that is where the problem comes in. That is where the conflict is. So, what is this conflict I'm talking about? The burden to create. Creativity, I feel, is a beautiful curse. Creatives, most of the time, are burdened by the deep desire to create something meaningful. And this desire comes strictly within, not just to express, but also to be understood. I used to be one of those people who didn't get art. I used to believe like science is all there is. But don't get me wrong, science has its place. But I used to be one of those people until I became a self-taught photographer and filmmaker, and it became a part of who I am. And then this is where I came across this conflict. There's a paradox in creating where we do it to connect with others, but it can also feel very isolating. In this case now, you get a point where the identity is full of tension. Society allows for you to be yourself, but only within certain boundaries. So we conform to be accepted, but we rebel to be free. And what I'm trying to say is there's a constant struggle to fit in and also trying to be your own self. And it's within this struggle that we find our own voice. Within that struggle is where you're able to create and find your own uniqueness as an individual. A friend of mine, we were talking and we were having a conversation about the constant struggle that is within life. And I tried telling him, like, for me, I look at it from a sense of suffering for the right reasons. So purpose and intentionality. I suffer, but it's to make an impact. In the long run, my struggle and my suffering becomes something meaningful. And for him, he was so pushed back by the word suffering because he feels it has a negative connotation, and I can understand. But the point is, the struggle will always be there. The struggle whether to fit in or stand out and be your own self. That struggle will always be there. acknowledging that the struggle is there, and that in that struggle we find our own voice. That is the first step in removing any sort of identity crisis that may come from that conflict. So as I end this video, we are all a little like Superman. We are all burdened by the idea of us trying to hold the world, trying to save the world, but also trying to make a name for ourselves, trying to be our own man. That struggle, as we continue with that struggle, it is important to remember that within that struggle, something positive can come from it. And when you find your own voice, it will all now begin to make sense. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I made sense. I'll see you in the next one.